Qworks study on how writing, or what we call reflective writing, affects individual inspiration. This presentation will give you a quick background on some of the powerful principles we teach organizations, leaders, and managers. First, let's talk about Charles Darwin. He's credited with one of the most influential scientific discoveries of the last few centuries. Natural selection has influenced almost every academic field of thought, including sociology, industry, psychology, economics, and even medicine. We say that Charles Darwin came up with this idea. But where does he say his idea came from? His answer may surprise you. The setting, as described by Darwin himself, occurred as he read Malthus's Population in October of 1838. Suddenly, he said, it at once struck me that under these circumstances, favorable variations in genes would tend to be preserved and unfavorable ones destroyed. Here then, I had a theory by which I could work. He attributes Malthus's principle as a trigger for his theory. Now, stories of inspired thinking such as these are fun to hear and even more fun to tell, but there is far more to the process of Darwin's inspired discovery. What is not known, not even to Darwin himself, was that a few months earlier he had written similar thoughts in his notebook, containing all the principles and observations that would eventually make up the theory. Darwin processed a practice of inspired growth. He was actively seeking to utilize his gifts, his passions, through reflection. He admits to seeking out every available book that might relate to the theme of human evolution. Second, he captured his insights. His passions were such that these questions haunted him. And what did he do once he connected those dots in a more clear way? He kept on writing to find simplicity amidst a very complex range of ideas. Third, he harvested their impact until the theory was published widely. Okay, let's summarize. Not everyone who follows this system will be the next great Darwin or inventor or scientist. However, everyone who follows this system will achieve something we're all needing. Let me explain. Today's world is very different from 1848. I get it. We have this thing called the internet and computers and smartphones. So let's talk about that. I'm the first to admit that I need these things. I mean, none of us want to be a caveman scratching away at sticks with the walls. But what is not fully appreciated today is how these innovations affect our thinking. In fact, it's a little scary. Research has shown that our increasing use of these technologies has weakened the kind of deep processing needed for reflective thinking, deeper thinking, analysis, creativity, and reflection. Instead of me giving you all the statistics and science, because believe me, there are a lot, think of it for yourself. Has the internet given you more time to spend with your family? Are you reading more books like Darwin? Do you have a better understanding of your purpose at work? Scientists call this the productivity paradox, meaning that technologies created to increase productivity often fail because they introduce complexity and facilitate far more information than we can effectively process. I would be willing to bet that even at this very moment, you are trying to look at other websites, emails, or projects during this presentation. Now, many of you might think you are multitasking or getting stuff done, but in reality, you are incurring what scientists call switching costs. Did you know it takes 10 to 15 minutes for you to get back to your mental focus when you switch to read an email? This means our minds have become increasingly unable to go deeper. We are not accessing our best thinking. Instead, we live in a state of quick thinking where we are merely reacting to the deluge of data and information around us. We call it data smog. Now, sometimes, if we are disciplined enough, we find time to be more deliberate in our thinking, and the results are astounding. We call this inspired thinking. We have asked thousands of professionals one simple question: what inspiration is, and what is it not? Now, based on their backgrounds, some identify inspiration as a spiritual experience. Others see it as a making deeper connections, and others see it simply as a form of creativity or innovation. Now, these individual interpretations are important, not because one is more right than the other, but because they provide the platform for any person to identify inspiration when it happens again. But what most people lack is both a system and tool to facilitate that experience. Inspiration is far more than a mere acquisition of facts, statistics, or even processes, but rather a more refined way of understanding ourselves in the larger order of our lives. What is most interesting is that the words often describe a fusing of both emotion and intellect. The effect of inspiration is always positive, and it instills both energy and purpose on a given topic or theme. Both the mind and heart grow, and therefore, inspiration is the highest source of learning. It is a newfound understanding of the principle that provides meaning and purpose. And one of the most profound ways of harvesting inspiration is by writing. Let me give you a quick example, because it doesn't have to be profound like Darwin. In fact, most often it's more subtle. Now, let me tell you a little bit about Craig. Craig works as a city attorney for a small city, and he's always asked to write up language for new bills and motions. And just like most attorneys, they live for detail, and he wants to get the wording exactly right to avoid conflict. But just recently, the city council was divided on a very emotional issue that affected everybody. The argument was incredibly bitter. So naturally, when the council asked Craig to draft a summary of their motion, he was concerned. That night, he went to go write down some of his thoughts about his job, a theme he often wrote about. Initially, his words were filled with doubt about his role, even frustration with the way people were treating him. But as he penned even further, Craig remembered something he had read years ago about some of his heroes in 1787. He remembered how they often felt abused, or were angry at the compromises that needed to take place. He began to learn about his own theme as a city attorney, and how he had a wonderful role of helping to heal, to improve his community. Craig later told me, I felt like I had a far better perspective. Sure, I was not James Madison or Benjamin Franklin, but I made a connection that gave me purpose and fulfillment. Because he was willing to put his thoughts on paper, to slow down enough to understand his emotions, he learned more about how to improve the world around him. That is inspiration, and it is the highest source of learning. So let's get back to why writing is so important. Science has indicated that writing by hand accesses the part of your brain that stimulates what neuroscientists call the secretary of your brain. It's the reticular activating system. Now, beyond controlling sleep and wake functions, it shouts at you to wake up, pay attention, this is important. The act of putting pen to paper is when that really happens. Often we are asked, why can't I type my thoughts? It's much faster and I get more words down. That's absolutely true, you can. However, it is important to remember that capturing your thoughts on a computer may get you more words, but it does not get you more of what you need. Writing forces you to slow down in a world that is continually asking you to speed up. So what are you going to write about for the next 2 weeks? Here are a few practices we teach. First, identify your themes. We are all in different contexts, and as such, have different needs. These needs often press upon us. They consume our minds and require reflective thought and consideration. We call these themes. Now, everyone has seen A Christmas Story, I'm sure. You may remember when Ralphie gets his assignment in class.
Boys and girls, I'm going to give you an assignment. Boys and girls, I'm going to give you an assignment. I want you to write a theme.
You may remember how excited Ralphie was as he began to develop his thoughts on that famous Red Ryder BB gun. Make a list of different themes in your life that are important to you. For example, you may have a theme on exercise, health, spouse, family, travel, readings, church, principles of growth, work projects. The list is endless, and it depends on your unique context. If you're Ralphie, your first theme would no doubt be the Red Ryder BB gun. His other themes might be school, friendship, family, lessons from swearing, and perhaps ideas on how to deal with bullies. In a moment, this presentation will conclude, and I would ask you to take 2 minutes to write down 4 or 5 themes in the notebook we've provided. Once you've identified these themes, you'll be surprised at how they serve as triggers, and you'll start to see things differently. And then, that secretary of the brain, it will call to attention plenty of elements that you really missed. Also, once you have the list of your themes, every day you can choose one and explore it for 5 or 10 minutes by writing your thoughts, concerns, feelings. Identify and write about your talents within this theme, or how you can apply and improve upon them. I'll promise you this. As you write on your themes, you will walk away from one session with a more concrete understanding of how this theme and your role within it creates true value in your life. Second, throughout your day, you may have meetings, unhappy teenagers, reports to read, phone calls to make, or any other timely activity that needs to be done. We all have them. But what we have learned as a result is to dismiss those triggers that come because of our busyness. Don't do it. Those triggers are powerful, and they're cues that are desperate for increased learning and clarification. You need to dive into them like it was your mom's pie. In fact, that is exactly what they are. P, phrases you hear that intrigue you, inspire, or require a question. I, insights that could mean something bigger. E, emotions that you feel in any given theme. Inspired triggers can come anywhere and at any time, so be ready. When you have any of these triggers, phrases, insights, emotions, take notes of them quickly during the day. Jot them down, and later you can write upon them. If you actively seek these elements, you will be amazed at the depth of learning that can take place. Lastly, after you've written a few minutes on a given theme or an inspired trigger, try summarizing your learning by simply asking, "What have I learned?" Or "How has my perspective shifted or improved?" One question that always leads me to go deeper are, what personal talents do I have within this theme? What experiences or gifts have come as a result? What am I passionate about? So here's how the rest of the study is going to play out. You've each been given a small notebook to keep your writing. Make a list of your themes, take your notebook with you at all times, and have a pen nearby too, just in case those triggers come. Decide when you will spend at least 10 minutes writing each day. Put that in your calendar, your Gmail, your Outlook, to make that commitment. Learn to not only make commitments, but keep those commitments with yourself. In 2 weeks, you'll receive a follow-up survey. It'll take about 5 minutes to fill out. Please be honest, because we're anxious to see what results have taken place. We feel you're going to enjoy this process, and you will grow tremendously for this experience. Thanks again.